Okay, guys. Hello. This is Show here, and I did not really. Hang on 1 minute. Okay, sorry about that. I just turned off my fan and did something real quick. Now, someone did ask me about Deku's hero name, and if it would still be Deku or something different. Now, I was thinking that it could be something different, like he can call himself the 10 Quirk Wonder, or just like the Boogeyman with 10 quirks, or just Quirklet. But Deku does mean that you can do anything, or it just means that you are useless. I'm pretty sure from what I remember from the anime. Don't quote me on that, it is almost 1 in the morning. That's not good. Anyways, let us cut to Midoriya. He is talking with Principal Nezu, and they are having a conversation about if it was morally wrong, or if it was a good thing or a bad thing what he did to that villain. Now, Deku would actually have a chest piece floating in the air as they are talking about this. He would then place it down on the chessboard, saying that that was true, but he then placed it down on the chessboard, saying "King me." And everyone is watching as Deku and Nezu are actually talking, and people were kind of concerned with letting Nezu anywhere near Midoriya, but they're essentially both victims of abuse. The way a quirklet is treated through society, and the way a lot of people just think about them, they are just seen as general monsters. And the fact that you're just treated that way for existing is a bit horrifying. Now, Nezu is probably the closest person who actually may know what Deku has gone through, because he's essentially an animal that has a quirk. Now, Nezu would be talking to Deku, and they are saying that, or they're having tea, playing chess, and Nezu would say that is true, but also, as he would knock over Deku's pawn, saying that that was not a very good move. Anyways, they would then continue on for the next couple hours as that was happening. Deku and Principal Nezu would be talking, and Nezu would finally bring up that the whole thing at the mission or the villain's base wasn't all for lost. You managed to basically capture an entire vanguard of villains wanted for over 20 murders, if not hundreds of missing person cases, along with 2 confirmed murders actually being heroes. Even that, they're the heroes that killed that young boy's parents back at the camp you guys were at. Deku would say that would make sense, because from what he heard from the Pussycats, or overheard a lot of people talking about, that kid really did not like heroes. He didn't like them, but whenever he immediately heard I was a quirklet, he thought I was great. It reminds me of whenever me and Baku were kids. Now, Deku would immediately ask Nezu if there's anything he can do to help, because he knows that the villains are going to probably attack again anytime soon. Nezu would tell Deku that he doesn't need to worry about that, and he's going to be honest with him that he has actually been in the room speaking with him for the past 3 hours, because All Might and a lot of the other heroes are going to be raiding the villain's hideout. Deku's asking what he means, because he would have just been like, what do you mean? As Nezu would explain that my recording cuts at 1 in the morning and I want to scream, but I can't. Anyways, Nezu would explain that what is happening is they are going to be raiding the villain's base very soon, and he was actually told to keep him company. But he's actually seems to be the only person in UA he can actually play a genuine game of chess against and not know the outcome. Deku would say that that is actually quite refreshing because he has never been able to have a conversation like this either. And they should actually do this every once a week, or at least make this a monthly routine. Nezu would say that that would be nice, and they would actually be talking more, and they would have an actual TV on as they are talking. They are saying that this is around the time that the villains are about to be having their base raided. Now, okay, I have a good idea for what to do in this part, but I really hope you guys like it because I'm going to explaining. It's going to be a parallel to an anime I've seen before, and it actually has one of the quirks I have. Well, yeah, it's one of the quirks I have listed. Anyways, it's actually where I drew parallels from Deku's full cowling being black and red. Anyways, I do hope you guys enjoy this. I'm very nervous. Now then, Deku would watch as the heroes would raid the villain base, and All Might would actually catch a lot of the villains, along with Kumari Woods, getting Korogiri, and a lot of things similar to canon. But this time, that is, well, you guys know how this goes already. Over at the Nomu factory, this is whenever everything would just go wrong, and All for One would show up and kill Best Jeanist. And this is whenever Shigaraki and Korogiri, I'm pretty sure Korogiri got portaled away, didn't he? Let's say that only Shigaraki was portaled away, because I don't know about Korogiri yet, and I don't want to change the story. So I'm just going to leave that there, but All Might would immediately know something is wrong, and Midoriya would know it's wrong too, because All Might's running to the location. He's saying that this isn't good, and that he might need to go. Nezu's telling Deku to wait, and let's see how All Might handles himself first. Deku would say that you know about his injuries, right? You know the numbers, don't you? I know you do, Nezu. Nezu would then say that that might be true, and then Deku would just say that if he's right, All Might has only a 40% success rate. And we don't even know, I don't even know everything yet. You know everything about the situation. So, you know it might be worse. This is whenever Nezu would go to open his mouth, but he would immediately just shut it, because Deku's right. It is far worse than he thinks. Now, this is whenever Deku, he would immediately just say that he'll stay on the sidelines. Well, it's not bothering him staying on the sidelines, but he is not going to watch for much longer. And if he feels like he needs to, he will intervene. Now then, this is whenever Deku would see as All for One and All Might would clash. All for One would give his dialogue, and this is whenever he would immediately just say that this is his All Might killing quirk, or the quirks he's acquired to actually kill All Might, along with one he finds very special. All Might would be confused as he would go to actually dodge it, as he would immediately just have a gush of blood fly out of his arm. Now, All for One's telling All Might to look a bit closer, and as he would see very tiny strings glisten in the moonlight as they're surrounding him. All for One is saying that this is one of his favorite quirks because it's essentially very easy to use. Along with it's very malleable. In fact, he can even do this, as he would immediately form strings around a building and immediately slice it in half, saying that these are very sharp, but they seem to always get anything done. Now, All for One's giving his speech to All Might about how this is never going to work and the Society of Heroes is doomed to fail, because what will happen after heroes or no one is quirkless anymore? What is going to happen to the heroes? What is going to happen with the world? What is going to happen with wars? You don't think there's never going to be a hero fighting? It's human nature, All Might. We are animals. We are nothing but little playthings for some man on a castle. Or someone in a chair. Kingdoms have fallen, kingdoms have rised. Civilizations have gone by. Yet, one thing man has always had is his ignorance. Even that will be his downfall. As All for One will begin trying to slice All Might in half, that's not working very well. So he would just be forming two of these giant arms actually flying towards All Might, along with his fingers. He would be firing, doing all that, and as soon as All Might would actually get stabbed in the chest, Deku would immediately just make a portal and fall through it, saying that he's sorry, but he can't let this continue. Now then, after that would happen, Deku would appear on the battlefield, and he would immediately just start telling All Might that he's got this and to protect civilians. All Might's confused, saying that he's not supposed to be here, and Deku would just say that that doesn't matter right now. He might be the only person in the world who can take this guy down. But we both know you're not in the same condition I am. All Might would say that that's true, as All for One saying that, so, the Quirklet has finally showed his face. It's very rare to see one of you. The last time I saw one of you was sometime around the third generation. Anyways, I remember seeing so many of you as a child. Very fascinating, yet I've never seen one stand in front of me. Not one so brave or as bold as you. He would then go on to Deku, saying that he is going to kill him, then he will kill All Might, and end this miserable fight between All for One and One for All. Deku is saying that he won't let that happen, as he would immediately charge up his quirk and his eyes would turn red. All for One would say that this is quite a surprise. I did not know you were his successor. As Deku would then say that he is not his successor. In fact, this is his own quirk. It wasn't given to him. As he would begin cracking his neck and charging at All for One. All for One's telling Deku that that simple trick isn't going to work, as he would try slicing Deku down and cutting him down. Deku would then say, neither is that, as he would immediately weaponize his entire body, essentially layering himself in armor with his hardened muscle fibers, basically fusing them together and them turning a different color. He would then coat them in his fear gas. He would then coat them in his fear quirk, and immediately just start firing spikes at All for One through his body. All for One is confused, saying that he didn't know that he can copy quirks. Midori would just say that he doesn't, or he can't. He just knows a lot. He just has a bunch of different quirks. In fact, you probably won't be able to guess my number. All for One would then say, what is it? 6? 8? 5? 4. Deku would just laugh, saying that it's not even close to that. In fact, you were the closest at 8. I have 10 quirks. All for One would then realize that this kid might actually be a threat, and he would immediately go to cut him down with his strings. He would then cut off one of Midoriya's arms, and Midoriya would just look at this, saying that was that supposed to hurt, as it would immediately regenerate, and he would just pick up his glove. All for one saying that that is a surprise. Usually people would be screaming in agony by now. Now, Deku would say that he is not going to die that easy. In fact, you know that Nomu monster? It's the reason I have 10 quirks. All I can tell you is that thing killed me, and I killed... Well, that thing along with that Shigaraki, or Sugar guy, that face... That hand face guy, he and the Nomu are the reason my 10th quirk have awakened. In fact, he's the reason I died. But I'm a tough bastard to kill. Now, are you gonna fight me seriously? All for one would then immediately just start charging at Deku, and Deku would immediately start charging at All for One. Deku's firing off as many spikes as he can. He's trying to hide by using his method. He's using Amp in his IQ along with Heater. He's trying to incinerate All for One by immediately just lighting him on fire. But All for One is canceling him out with Pyrokinesis. Because as soon as Deku would immediately start making him smoke, it would immediately just cancel out. And Deku would see that that's useless. As All for One would then say that he is a clever boy, but you miss simple strategies, don't you? Deku would say, what do you mean? As All for One would immediately just have wires come out of the ground, along with grab Deku with Pyrokinesis, lighting him on fire. That would catch Deku off guard. All for One would immediately, as soon as he takes his chance, get as many atomic threads as he can and just rip Deku apart. Now, by rip Deku apart, I mean rip Deku apart. Where's a... He's ripping Deku's arms off, he's cutting off fingers, he's cutting off his legs, he's cutting off everything below this scar right here got cut off. And he would even start ripping, or he would immediately start doing all that. This is overloading Deku's brain. And All for One would just rip off Deku's other arms. He would then have him hold him up with his telekinesis. And he would just have the strings grow, or strangle Deku. Saying that, is there anything else he has to say before he finally puts him out of his misery? Now, Deku, in the clearest voice he can muster, is saying these simple words. Close your eyes and count to 7. When you wake up, you will be in heaven. Now, as soon as he would have said those words, All for One's asking what he means, as he would immediately see Deku's eyes just grow brighter and brighter, and he just broke through his atomic threads by melting them with his heater quirk. Now, as soon as All for One would see Deku do this, he's confused, as Deku would grab him with telekinesis, immediately weaponize as much of his body as he can, send it at All for One, dousing All for One with as much fear as he can possibly do at this point. He would then teleport behind All for One and just immediately grab him by the face, burning it as much as possible. And he would just start stabbing into All for One with his fear, as he would turn his hands into blades. Now, as soon as he would have done that, this is whenever Deku, he would have told All for One that, you know, pain is a simple thing. Most people, they don't like it. But I can tell you one thing, I love it. You know why, All for One? It's quite simple. I can't feel it. In fact, within this past year, I have only felt pain 3 times. And you know the funniest part about it? Every single time I've loved it. Every single time I thought I've lost myself. But it's quite simple. I just finally found myself. It's something so enjoyable to me because it's one of the things I can never feel. But sadly, there's always a limit. All for One would then immediately just try stabbing Deku in the chest, and he would do this successfully. Because Deku wouldn't have really been trying to think about stopping All for One. He would have immediately just looked down into his chest, grab these black whips or whatever these things are, and he would just start crushing them in his hand, telling All for One that that's not going to work, and he'll give him one little courtesy. He's been holding back, but he doesn't want to anymore. He just wants to see how far he can push everything. It's amazing. I've never had the chance to do this, and the fact that All Might's gotten the civilians out of here already just makes this better. No casualties, no limits, just me and you fighting it out, the last man standing. It's gonna be great. As he would see Deku immediately start sparking with fire and electricity, he would then watch as Deku's actually burning up to the point where he's not even visible to All for One, and all he can see is the glow in his eyes, the lightning and the fire. All for One's thinking that this is the most beautiful thing he's ever seen, but it's also the last, isn't it? Deku would tell All for One in the clearest voice he can that it's okay, All for One. You can start praying to your god, but I can tell you one thing. I won't be listening. As he would immediately just start boosting his body as much as it will. He's grabbing All for One, ripping him apart as he just keeps slicing and slicing and slicing everything that regenerates. People that were cheering for All Might are now seeing the destructive power of Deku as he just keeps stabbing All for One with his spikes. And he just keeps seeing All for One immediately just get scared and more scared over and over again. People don't even want to look at this, but they're just watching as Deku's just dismantling this villain. And this ending with Deku actually exhausted. Now, Deku's immediately just on the ground in a pile of fire as his body's bursting with electricity. Now, he's actually having a lot of his muscle fibers pop, and as soon as he would try going beyond what he thought was humanly possible, his entire body would just stop bursting with adrenaline. His telekinesis would stop working, his invisibility stops working, his enhancements have stopped working. He can't think straight, he can't even weaponize his arms, he can't even teleport, and he just feels scared. He's just laying there not knowing what to do. And this is whenever Toru, she would run into the battlefield at about 70% of full cowling. And she would immediately run up and see Deku on fire, and he's telling her not to touch him or not to get near him. Because he doesn't know what's going on. It's freaking him out. He doesn't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. As she would immediately tell him that he needs to calm down and that the heroes are on their way. What happened to him? What did he do? And Deku's just saying he doesn't know. He thinks it happened again. He doesn't see himself as a hero anymore. He just sees himself as a force of nature. All you would hear is All for One start to laugh as he's finally regenerating his second lung. He's saying that Deku is a quirklet. Quirklets are missing pieces of their mortality. In fact, you're basically incomplete every step of the way. You can try and fill those gaps, but that nature you have, that primal urge to destroy, that never disappears. Deku's saying, what do you mean? As his fire would actually start to slow down and die down a bit. It's going down to the point where it's turned back into smoke, and it would immediately just put itself out. As he would try moving, but he can't. And this is confusing him because his regeneration stopped. All for One's telling Deku that one thing he tried doing during their fight that impressed him is, I tried to take your quirks, kid. But even that seemed impossible. You truly are a force of nature, like you said. But one thing you forget about your own power, that you seem to overlook, that your mind itself seems to stop thinking about, is quirks are physical abilities, and you've just hit your limit. Now, Deku actually hearing this would surprise him, thinking that he finally found a limit? What does he mean? All for One saying that you've not only did you somehow fracture your mind back to mortality, it seems that you've just been a monster in disguise. A wolf in sheep's clothing. You skinned that boy alive just to wear him as a suit. You've stripped him of his own mortality by pretending to be human. And it's impressive. I am not the villain here, you are. Now, Toru's screaming to All for One that that's not true, and that he's done plenty of good things. He's saved everyone in 1A, he's done all that, and Deku would actually go to a hospital, as he would black out. Now, he would actually wake up, and he would see Toru, and she's actually laying at the foot of his hospital bed, or she's sitting down with her arms crunched up on the bed, and she's saying that it's finally good to see him awake. It seemed that all of his quirks stopped working. Deku would say that that makes sense, because quirks are physical abilities. And hearing Deku say this, she'd be confused, saying, you're not doing the whole technical thing now? And he would say that, what is she talking about? As she would just say that Deku usually talks a bit differently. He would then say that, alright, but as his mind would immediately start racing again. Now, Deku's quirks have essentially all activated again. By doing this, Deku would have actually screamed, seizing in the hospital bed. Whenever they all activated, it basically sent his body into overdrive, and so along with his mind. As he would immediately calm down after about 2 to 3 minutes, and start acting the same way again. He's saying that he doesn't know what happened. She would have said that that was pretty weird, but it seems that your quirks all activated at once. He would ask her what she means, as she would say that from what All for One said, or that villain said, you reached a limit with your power. So you may have peaked? Question mark. Deku would say that that doesn't make sense, cause he. Wait, I peaked. No, I. Okay, I think I know what he means, Toru. He would then start rubbing his temples, saying that quirks are physical abilities, is what he meant. She would say, what does he mean? As he would say, run too fast, you get tired. Lift too many weights, your arms are sore, so on and so on. Basically, Bakugo's explanation from the sports festival. Now then, the big three fight. Deku would be sitting at his desk somewhat as people would see him walking to 1A. They're kind of intimidated, but they're actually approaching him, asking him what happened, because they essentially saw him, last time they saw him, he was laying in a puddle of fire and electricity. He's saying that he had to jump in because he couldn't see it anymore, that All Might was standing alone. He was the only thing in between that villain and everyone there dying. So he wouldn't straight out say All Might's powerless, but he would just say that even the strongest can be powerless, so what do you do? you stand in front of them, and you respect if they stand beside you. And he told All Might to stand behind him, which Karasuno would then cry manly tears, as Ida would actually somewhat appreciate Deku's really, really heroic words. Now, Mirio would come in saying that he's here to challenge everyone in 1A, and he would immediately look over at Deku and let out a fangirl scream, saying that he's that guy with 10 quirks, he's really happy to meet him, and they should fight and spar, seeing where they would all... I just kicked my cup of water. They should all fight and see where they stand. Deku would say that that's quite okay, as they would all walk out. And as I was saying that this isn't a good idea, Mirio would just say that don't worry, he won't hurt them much. And he would then look over to Deku saying, hold back some, okay, Midoriya? Mirio would then immediately just let out a small what? As the fight would start, everyone would immediately be knocked down except for Toru and Deku. Toru's actually invisible, trying to fight with the... Well, she's still wearing her UA uniform, so that wouldn't work. She is actually trying to fight the big three, and she's actually fighting against the food quirk guy. So she's using Black Whip against him, along with All Might's quirk at 70%, and she would eventually take him down, because she would have seen one of the things Deku did was rapidly turning not Black Whip, his version of Black Whip, his weaponized version, or his weaponized spikes. She would have seen what he did, and she would have tried copying it. This would somewhat work, but it's just a wider turn, and she would have immediately been able to smack him in the face, actually breaking through his defense, and just knock him out with a punch. Deku and this guy, or Mirio, are fighting, and Mirio is somewhat confused because Deku seems to be holding back, or he seems to just be standing there, as he would immediately disappear in a flash of light, appear beside him. Deku would just punch him in the face, and he would take out the girl flying by immediately just teleporting behind her and hitting her with an ounce of fear, as she would scream, falling to the ground. As I was telling Deku that he told him to hold back, and Deku just saying he was, that it seems he's... Well, from what happened in the hospital, his quirk got stronger. As I was somewhat trying to believe Deku. But, now then, the provisional license exam would start. Everyone would see Deku. Everyone would just avoid him like the plague. But whenever it came time to actually just get people out to be heroes, let's say a lot of people targeted Deku because they wanted to see... Well, they wanted to take down the Quirklet, or the Quirklet guy, because they thought they can get extra points from it, or something special would happen if they did take him out. And that would all happen. The Wind guy actually would not hate Todoroki, because Endeavor would have actually been arrested before they met, or before that whole autograph thing happened. So he would have just looked at Todoroki smugly, as Todoroki would have actually held out his hand and smiled for a handshake. Shake. Which he would have actually agreed to. Now then, Deku would get his license, and that is about the end of this What If. Wow. I finished a What If at 1:37 at night, which I'm going to upload it around 2 o'clock 2 in the morning. I'm pretty sure if I were to make a Discord or something like that, and I had a meme page, it would just be, who would post a YouTube video at 3 a.m.? Kirishou Maniku. Or Maniki. I can't even say it. Maniki. Kirishou Maniki. Oh boy, 3 a.m. I feel like there'd just be a lot of memes about me posting as many videos as possible in one day. You can't post 6 videos a day and not have a full-time job. Kirishou Maniki. Observe. Anyways, there's probably also an eyes glow meme about this quirk. but that's none of my business. Now then, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm going to be doing Mad Max tomorrow. And catch you guys later.